Привет is Молдову, or rather, hello from Moldova. Some of you might not have any idea where I'm at right now. Moldova, others might recognize it as the poorest country in Europe, also known as the most corrupt. Some might consider it the most devastating failure after the Soviet Union's collapse. Today, I want to come and explore Chișinău together. Let's see the Soviet history and what remains. This is one of the relics of the Soviet past in Moldova and Chișinău that you can find. This is the Circus. Unfortunately, it has not been active for many, many years. It's crumbling. We'll try to take a closer look. Many people, many governments have tried to donate money to get this restored, and unfortunately it always ends up falling apart. Nothing has been done. Let's take a closer look. You can see behind me that the sidewalk is just crumbling. They have not taken care of it whatsoever. It's quite disappointing to see such a wonderful building used for such joy and fun for children to just be crumbling apart after so many donations to try to fix it up. Just want to point something out to you guys about just how sad and run down this building is. That clown is without a head. I mean, a clown can't even keep his own head. So there are some workers here. It does appear that they are trying to do something to the circus. I've asked if I'm allowed inside. They've told me no. So we're going to head off to the next landmark and see what Soviet history awaits. I found myself at the National Hotel. This was once the most beautiful and the most expensive in all of the country. And now look at it, just a shell of what it once was. Just look at what this has become. Once a beautiful restaurant, now it just smells of human pee and trash everywhere, just absolutely destroyed. How sad it is that no one wanted to keep this history. When the Soviets were here, they put a lot of work into building fountain infrastructure in all of their republics. And now just look at it. Broken, trash strewn everywhere. It's quite unfortunate what has become of the Soviet history in Chișinău. You might be wondering, why are you bringing us around, showing us all these shitty, abandoned places? This place looks like a dump. What is Moldova? Why are you here? Well, that's not the whole truth of how Moldova is. Moldova is a beautiful country. Chișinău is a beautiful city, but it does have this harsh Soviet past and deep corruption running into the government and all of the officials that permit all of these buildings to just fall into absolute disarray and abandon. It's quite sad what the government has become to the citizens. It is trying to step forward step by step, but they still have a long way to go. This is one of many beautification projects around Chișinău. There are paintings all over this wall to give it more of a European city feel. What you see behind me are the gates to the old Soviet stadium built in the 1950s. Unfortunately, they stopped using it a few years ago, but we're going to see if we can sneak a peek inside. The dogs are just telling me not to come. Look at this absolute dump where the stadium once was. I'm gonna get out of here before the dogs come after me some more. Okay, let's talk about a piece of really dark history in Moldova's past in regards to the Soviet Union. This behind me, we are in front of the train station. This is a monument to Soviet repression. Unfortunately, during the times that Stalin was in power, he sent thousands upon thousands of ethnic Moldovans all the way to Kazakhstan on trains. They were part of an ethnic minority cleanse in the nation, and those that survived the train journey were forced to work in gulag labor camps in the freezing winter weather. So this is a monument for the pain and repression that the Stalin regime caused all of the ethnic Moldovans in the country. Unfortunately, there is a dark past in history in Moldova of ethnic cleansings, the Soviets, about every empire came and overtook Moldova, and now they're still fighting for their national identity. Let's take a look at some of the things that do make Chișinău its own Chișinău. What an interesting train station. I've heard that it's been recently redone for all of the European heads that were coming to visit over the summer. So Moldova has its own identity, the kingdoms. You can see all of the breasts on the train station that has been redone. But this video isn't to show you Moldova as it is now. Well, partially. What we're focusing on is the Soviet history that still exists. I see mosaic ahead. Let's check it out. Look at that. I have also heard that a few times a week a Soviet train runs from here to Romania. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out, or check out my Soviet train videos from Tajikistan. It's hard to find any of the Soviet past in this train station that's been redone. If you look down while you're walking around Chișinău, you can even still find the Soviet hammer and sickle on the telephone company. The next thing I'm going to show you is the Orthodox Cathedral in the center of the city of Chișinău. What's interesting about this is it was built in the times of the Russian czars when they were encouraging everyone to be Orthodox Christians. But when the Soviets came back, they did not think it was acceptable for a church to be in the center of a city, so they took that cross off the top of it and used it as an exhibition hall. And this bell tower right behind me, that had also been here since the Tsar times, the Communist Party blew it up in the middle of the night. The current bell tower was rebuilt in 1998 after the collapse of the Soviet Union. In the center of Chișinău, you can still find buildings from a Soviet past. The Soviet Communist Party of Moldova converted what was a bank into this organ hall so that their children could play there. You can also see the Stalin building. This is where all of the party leaders would come to stay when they were visiting Chișinău. You can even see the Soviet hammer and sickles and stars if you look closely. Now, one thing that has been preserved from the Soviet Union is the parks. The Soviets put park infrastructure all over the city, and they're in lovely shape. There are fountains and monuments still standing from that time. I really love that Moldovans have kept that part of their Soviet history intact. It's such a great way for people to come out and experience the city. You can see that there is unfortunately some graffiti that has been done to the monument. Let's take a look inside and see how the actual mosaic stands. Oh, beautiful. I believe water actually comes out of the center or through this, and the rest of this is an active water fountain that works in the summer. So right now it's turned off because of the winter, but it does actually work. There's quite an interesting piece of history as we arrive at the presidential palace of Moldova. This was once the headquarters of the Supreme of the Communist Party in Moldova. You can see that it's almost shaped like a lantern. And if you look behind me, this is the National Library. You can see that it's like an open book. This was a part of the Communist Party building complex as well, as if the supreme leader was shining a light onto the book of the Communist Party to know. It is still standing today. They have all been redone because in 2009 there was a revolution against the current government from corruption. The buildings were closed for many years, but are now very similar to their former glory. Got a cool old relic for you to see right now. Let's take a look. So, back in the heyday of the Soviet Union, this was once a beautifully decorated and ornate observatory overlooking the city and all of the stars. I'm just coming up the stairs now, and this is the top of the observatory. This is what I came for. Look here, you can still see the tile. Everything else has just been gutted. There's graffiti everywhere. Quite an interesting place to know that Soviets would come up here and look at the stars. We're gonna go up the stairs. Let's see what we have up here. Oh, wow. Oh, it's just filthy, just absolutely disgusting, covered in trash. Wow. Just imagine being up here looking at the stars. This roof could open all the way up to see everything with a telescope. While the Soviets were here, they would create giant, robust buildings for many different uses. This was used as an observatory to look at the stars. If you look behind me, you can see the hole that the telescope would have been peeking through to look at the night sky, with the ability to open and close this entire roof to see. I'm sure a telescope or something was sitting right here. Unfortunately, now it's just scrap metal and graffiti, just a long gone relic of the past that once was. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna end it here. I hope that this video has given you an idea of the unfortunate state of many of the buildings that the Soviets poured time and money into. It's really devastating to see, although some of the buildings have remained, such as the government buildings that Moldova has restored. I hope that this gave you a great idea of what the Soviet history in Chișinău is like. It's not all ruins, but does need some work and some history that they will never get back. Until next time.